Welcome back, everybody. It is Wins Above Fantasy, episode 191. I'm Van Burnett, joined as always by Steve Gesuele. We're talking August standouts, which is a fun show topic. Not only is it, very relevant to what's happening now, but also for me, Steve, as I'm now kind of on the outskirts of my season, it's great to stay tuned in to some of these late season performances, some breakouts. We'll take a look at about 8 guys and talk about the big Augusts they've had, go under the hood, see if there are changes that we believe in. And, this is kind of an interesting time of year where people kind of switch off. So it's always the type of names that once you get into the off season, you're looking at the back of the baseball card and you're like, man, they really did that, or they had this second half. And a lot of times these are the performances that do kind of get pushed under the rug. So it's a great topic. And I found myself going through this rundown with some kind of aha and stroke the chin type of moments of like, oh, this could be a guy that I'm interested in jumping in on next year in draft season. So yeah, it's a great show topic. We're excited to have you guys with us. We are recording this Tuesday night. For those of you guys joining us on the podcast on Thursday morning, take note of that. But Steve, otherwise, sounds like you're in a playoff battle right now. So while I am kind of enjoying that early retirement of the season outside of consolation brackets and some of my like best ball stuff, you are right in the heart of it, man. So how's it going over there?
Yeah, it's good. Intense, hyper focused. And hey, that's another reason why this is a pertinent topic, right? You sort of can kind of block out anything else, especially if you're in a head-to-head league of you're only focusing on what's going on in your matchup, right? Like you're not really looking at a league-wide.
True.
You don't have a league-wide view, which could lead to some things happening that go without you necessarily noticing. Other things come up. I know Nick likes to keep it G language, but I don't want to say the dirty word that is fantasy football is in full swing in their draft season. And if you did have a less than stellar season or just, wanted to switch the focus into fantasy football, I know it's a popular thing, and it's become, as baseball is, more of a year-round thing, and draft season is a much bigger deal than it was even 5-10 years ago, right? So there's other things that come up. Other sports are starting up soon, so it's easier to miss performances in August than it is in April, right? Because we always talk about this too, right? Like when hot performances happen in April, that's your slash line, and it's easy to see. Oh wow, Cal Raleigh had 10 homers in April and hit 400, right? Like it's amazing, but you may miss Shea Langoliers, who leads the league in homers since the All-Star break, right? And has an 850 OPS after being injured in a bit of a slow start in the year, right? He's not on this list, but very well could be.
Yeah.
It's just harder to notice things that happen this time of year for a bunch of reasons, and it's not really anyone's fault or anything like that. It's just the way that the season goes. Baseball season's super long. We talk about that all the time. So hopefully this sheds some light on some guys that may have been missed or didn't get the attention that they should have, whether that's for ads now or for draft season next year. I think it's probably more for next year, but still be fun to talk about no matter what.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of some of the guys we're going to be talking about. Most of them are like 60, 70% rostered.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see if there's, I guess one name is 54% rostered. So yeah, we'll see as we get into it. But for the most part, like I think you set it up well, Steve. And yeah, I do have that fantasy football draft tomorrow, and I still have phantom web behaviors because I just tried to go and set like one round of pre-draft rankings, and I clicked all the way into my roster on baseball before I was like, what are you doing? Wrong sport, bozo. So yeah, that's where I'm at. But yeah, Steve, it's an interesting one to start with because we've got Trevor Rogers here of Baltimore, and Rogers I kind of feel like he's on your maybe not your Mount Rushmore for all of our time in WAF, but he's in like, the starting 11 for you, where it's like when I think of Trevor Rogers, he's a prime example of a guy that it's like we've been in on him, you especially, and you get burned enough times that eventually you get the fatigue and you're kind of permanently like, oh, are we going to do this again? But here we are with Rogers having a huge August where across 35 innings, he's 3-1, a 129 ERA, a .89 whip, and the 27.1 strikeout percentage next to the 4.5% walk percentage. Yeah, it's exciting because we know this is, one of the original as Chris Towers called them on CBS, the Stallions for the Marlins pitching process when it felt like they were just kind of popping up from everywhere. But I got to be honest with this one, Steve, as I kind of bare bones looked at some of the different month over month stuff, it was tough for me to discern like what has clicked in for this to be like a tangible breakout to the tune of like a sub 2 ERA, a sub 1
Mhm.
whip. And then, looking deeper, I kind of like scratched my head and I was like, all right, time to go to Dr. Brozdowski and see if there's a write up. And I don't know if he's had a more recent one, but at one point he was like, it's tough to say what Rogers is doing differently. And I was like, okay, well, that makes me feel better because I was
Yeah.
looking everywhere. But it's not to say that there's nothing to get excited about. And we've been excited about this pitcher in the past. So worth a few minutes to talk about and see if this would be kind of a sleepy name to be interested in next year, because we've seen that there is ability here and he's obviously been lights out in August. So what do you make of all this?
Yeah, I definitely have a soft spot for Trevor Rogers. I see exactly why I've been in on him, right? Like the small sample in the COVID year in 2020, it was 28 innings of a 30% strikeout rate. Yeah, the walks were a little high, but the stuff looked good, right? And then, you know, what do you know? He's a sleeper heading into 2021. Backs that up with 133 innings of a 28%, 29% strikeout rate, 8% walk rate. Like, great. This looks awesome. Then it was, a pretty disappointing 2022, right? Battled some injuries, only threw 107 innings. Like, what were some of the injuries in 2022? The back injury, a lat injury.
Mm.
So, kind of chalk that up for health. And then, 2023 basically didn't really pitch that much at all in 2023. Did he have TJ? I see a forearm injury. I don't know if it was surgery or not. I think so. I think he
Yeah,
had Tommy John in 2023. I
he
could
had
be
two
wrong.
different left bicep strains
Yeah.
that season. I don't know if I feel like usually forearm is TJ, but yeah, I'll look it up. Keep rolling,
And
man.
then last year was just such a disaster. Like there was nothing to grasp in on. And then when that trade happens, like the Orioles gave up what for who? Like, yeah, Rogers was interesting at one point, but it looks like the ship has just totally sailed on that. But
Mhm.
man, did that narrative change this year?
With
I know he had
Stowers too.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
with Stowers having an amazing year. It just looked like the heist of a century. And now, what do you know? Stowers is hurt, and it looks at worst like even, right? I'd
Mhm.
still rather take the hitter in real life and in fantasy. But I mean, props to the Orioles for figuring this out, right? I think a lot of this has to do with getting the velocity back. Last year he was at 92 and was getting crushed. This year he's back up to 93. When he was really successful in 2021, he was at 94.6. 93 though is pretty good. And close to average, if not above average for lefties. I know there was an interesting tweet from David Adler about how all righties in Major League Baseball now the average righty throws 95 miles an hour, which is insane. And it's a little bit less for lefties, closer to 93. So the swing strike rate is the best it's been since that 2021 season. The changeup has always been really good, and it's really good again this year. So he's always had that pitch, and it's been reliable for him. And there's something about lefties, man. Like lefties this year are just having a there's something about him that stuff models miss, that cause them to be under projected. Just the way that they're funky. I don't know. There's
Hmm.
something that I can't explain that Lance or Eno will have to do a deep dive into seeing why lefties are overperforming all these models and expectations, and sort of leaving, like what Lance is saying, like, I wonder what's going on here. And there's just a lot of guys who have been super interesting, and Rogers is one of them. But long story short, I think there's always been this potential here, and it's just a matter of him getting healthy, which hasn't been often, adding that velocity back, which for the most part it is. And this is sort of the baseline Trevor Rogers that there is. I'm not saying it's a 140 ERA and 830 whip, but I believe, the 3.4 to 3.6 xFIP to Sierra, a guy that did have a 115 whip in 133 innings back in 2021. Like, it looks pretty good. And I mean, you can't knock the results. It's been so impressive from
Hmm.
Trevor Rogers, and he's been my best pitcher in my home league, and a reason why I'm still scrapping and fighting in the playoff spot for sure. So um, I definitely think that he is an interesting name, and this is like one of those things. Like, okay, yeah, when Trevor Rogers is healthy and throwing above 93 miles an hour, he's a usable fantasy starter.
Hmm. Yeah, it's I the captain obvious is that it won't look this good, right?
No,
I mean,
no.
it's the question becomes, is he a must roster pitcher? And I think, that answer has to be yes, unless the wheels completely come off because of all the things you mentioned, Steve. Um, and the lefty thing is interesting too. I mean, just looking at over the years for him, like he came into the league with a 22-degree arm angle, and then it got as high up as like 26, I think. And now it's back down to 22 degrees, which is like what Sean Manaya's when
That's
he
another
lowered
sign
his
of
slot.
health, right?
You
Like,
know what I
maybe
mean?
he couldn't get to that slot. It didn't feel right, right? I mean, that's just
It's
speculation,
possible.
but
No, but if you're dealing with all
yeah.
these, throwing arm strain and everything, it's like, uh, you know, some of it is a confirmation bias looking at the numbers, but like clearly he has hit a groove this month like he hasn't in years. So yeah, I think when you look at everything about the pitcher, where it's like, solid enough extension, he's got a huge frame, good ground ball rate. He's still just 27 years old. Like I think I would be ready to again, pending the wheels falling off in September, viewing Trevor Rogers as, I don't know. I mean, it'd be silly to kind of draft with this assumption, right? Otherwise, he'd be an SP1. But
Upside 3, right? Like, that's
yeah, I
kinda
think that's
how
about right. Like maybe draft him as a. Do you think he'll be going as an SP3? I feel like that even seems early, but
you
maybe it
think? I
just
mean,
depends on what September looks
yeah,
like.
like, if he's at 83 innings now, if he has another 30 innings of anything close to this, that'll be 110 innings of sub 2 ERA. Like, it'll be hard for the hype train, especially that churns on pitchers in the offseason, for him to have too much of a suppressed draft price. And just real quick,
Yeah.
like, looking at, I know we usually look at these things like intra month and even intra start as far as like pitch mix, but like, if you go to his Savant page and just see the plot and the chart of pitch percentage by season, like, you see a dip in 2024 in the four seam fastball when he was throwing 92 and clearly did not have faith in it. And it just spiked back up to 41%, like it was in 2023 and 2022 when he threw it 50% of the time. In 2021, it was 57% of the time. He was basically just a two pitch pitcher with fastball and changeup and mixed in the slider. Now the slider is good. He's got the sinker, changeup. Like, he's now become like a pitcher and healthy.
Hmm.
So it's pretty interesting. I know it is a flimsy profile. It is risky, but I mean, it looks pretty good, especially results wise.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, no doubt on the results. Just like popping over to his pitcher list, he has 100th percentile hit luck.
Yeah,
The
definitely getting
BABIP
lucky
is
too.
way up
Definitely
there.
getting lucky too. Yeah,
I think my biggest issue with like drafting him at like an SP3, which you're not wrong that if it's anything like this, it's not like a minute sample size. Like you said, if it's 110 innings and a sub 2 ERA, like you have to take note of it. I think what concerns me is just it's like he's pretty good at a handful of things. It's not like you can point and say like, oh, this changeup is one of the best in baseball or anything like that. Uh, he doesn't have like an elite swing and miss pitch. The ground ball rate is like good, but it's not great. So I think I would probably be more comfortable with him being kind of, a couple notches below that, like an SP5 or something. But that's probably going to be too late if he keeps this up, just because we've seen what happens with, the Ranger Suarez or those guys who kind of,
I mean, those guys kind of underperform, like, they're underrated in a way. I mean, a lot of these guys are like
who just
Ranger
get it
Suarez.
done.
I think kind of is a good comp. Like, peak Ranger Suarez was pretty good. I know that's not like the most exciting name to get excited about, but there's something going on with just not properly rating lefties, especially in the
who get results and don't strike out the world. Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. Okay, so that's Trevor Rogers. Jumping over to a hitter of note, Jurickson Profar has been red hot in August and really solid enough in July from coming back from, because the suspension. Remind me on when he was out, right? It was
very early in the season.
Yeah. So he barely played, if any, in April. It was okay. So 112. No. He played in March and missed April.
Okay.
Came back in July, and in July had a 238 average, but a 709 OPS was like okay. I know at that time there were some kind of warning sign articles coming out that, like, under the hood it looks really rough for Profar, and then you start getting all of the narratives that follow with that. August has been red hot, a 299 average, a 1044 OPS, 7 homers, 6 steals. I mean, it feels like prime Profar. And it calls into question, like, what is changing? I don't know if, compared to some other guys we're going to talk about where there are huge changes, I kind of feel like it's more easing concerns that, all of the Profar stuff was just like juicing, right? Like, this is kind of what you hope and expect from Profar, a mixture of good plate skills, solid batted ball data. He's had an 11% barrel rate in this month. It does look like this season he has the best pull air rate of his career. So, hope is not lost for Profar in redraft leagues, even though he's kind of the journeyman. He'll be 33 next year. But yeah, interesting bounce back for Profar, and one that if you're kind of sleeping, you might miss that he's had one of the better Augusts out of any hitter, right?
There was a lot of reasons to doubt Profar on last year, even before the suspension, right? Like, it was a pop-up year in his age 31 season, best season by far of his career.
True.
By 26 points of WRC plus. 4 more homers than he ever hit, and the most he hit was a 20 in the juice ball era in 2018, 2019, right? In one of those years he hit 218, so there really wasn't much to it. So, he was an easy sell high,
for sure,
last year, right?
And it happened with his ADP. Remember, even prior to all this
people
stuff,
did not buy it.
Yeah,
and then essentially even more reason to not buy it with there's the reason for it, right? Like, it's sort of a causation is not equal to correlation, or correlation is not equal causation type of thing. It's the low hanging fruit, but I know sometimes Occam's razor too, not to get all philosophy class on everyone, that and that's well above my pay grade, but he's essentially doing what he was doing last year. He had an 839 OPS last year, 837 this year, 15% strikeout rate last year, 15.7% this year. He's walking a little bit more, barreling the ball a little bit more, hard hit rates down, but still at 39% is still, 8% better than he ever had other than last year, right? So it looks pretty good, essentially, right? So
Mhm.
he basically prorated to the exact same thing he did last year. Maybe swapping a couple points of slug for a couple points of average, which hey, I'd take that any day of the week. But it just looked. I think that this is sort of who Jurickson Profar is now. Like, I think he could be like a 260, 20 homer, 10 steal guy, which is really, really valuable, especially in 5 outfielder leagues. And I don't know if he's going to be priced like that going forward, just given that this has happened in his age 31, 32 season, mixed around a PED suspension.
Yeah, and some of that reflects the underlying stuff. Like I know there is a lot of discussion about, PEDs is more about recovery than kind of tapping into max strength, but like his bat speed as a righty last year was 73.1 and this year it's been 71.9. Now his bat speed coincidentally from March, April up to July and August has actually increased, which is kind of opposite of what you would
Yeah.
expect.
Yeah.
And it's a good sign, but overall the bat speed is down compared to last year. And 1 mile per hour on bat speed is pretty drastic. I know it's just it feels like a small tick, but it's kind of like the velocity on a fastball going from 92 to 94 when you go from 73 down to 72. So that's not nothing, but I again still think it's encouraging that he's been able to basically maintain that OPS with some of those bat speed drops. Like I think there's still a good hitter, a good baseball player here with good plate skills. So yeah, if there is a significant dip, I will be in on Profar. I think he plays really nicely for points leagues as well, which I know in my home league is kind of tied in with like strikeouts and walks, but he's one of those guys who throughout the more recent years of his career has been almost as many walks as strikeouts. So yeah, sneaky value. It all went wrong for the Braves. Now, is he signed with the Braves past this year? That's something I don't know. Is he going to be
I
a free
don't.
agent or
I
not?
think he may have cashed in and got a. I'll tell you in a second.
Yeah, 3-year contract. So he'll be
He
there.
got a. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, we're obviously not going to look at the Braves next year and assume that it's a weak offense, right?
Yeah, we
And
said that last year too,
that's
right?
true.
But
That's true.
yes, I would imagine Acuna healthy to start the year. It definitely is a Murphy's Law. Not Sean Murphy's Law for the Braves this year, but a lot went wrong.
Yeah,
And I'd
for
still
sure.
buy the Braves being a good offense next year
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, so I think we're in on Profar and Rogers, kind of cost pending, but both of them.
I'd say it's okay. I'd say you were out on Rogers. That's fine.
Well, I guess it depends. I mean, if I were to just throw a
I know we
dart,
spent 10 minutes on him, 15 minutes on him. We don't need to
if I were to
rehash it.
throw a
But
dart on Rogers, like just pure instincts, I don't think I would be grabbing him sooner than ADP 120. And will I have to? Do you think?
I think maybe 150.
Okay, see there, I would
Yeah.
be. I would be in on that because at
Yeah.
that point in the draft, it's usually more like my SP 4,
Okay.
5. So yeah, I'm not fully out. Let me see what the ADP is doing. But we got more names that we're going to get to in a minute. We got to take our first ad break. We'll be right back after this. Okay, so Steve, switching over to another hitter for the NL Central leading Milwaukee Brewers. Obviously, they've had a fantastic year. Brice Turang is one. I think even at the start of the season, we were kind of talking about who's the rabbit that would be kind of the classic Steve Gesuele fade. And we were like, well, what about Brice Turang? I don't remember if he actually landed on your
Oh, he would have been. Yeah.
chalkboard,
Yeah.
but you might have dodged a bullet with that one because Turang has taken a really big step forward, and much of it, I mean, the month of his season has been August, no question, with a 354 batting average and 1124 OPS, 8 home runs for Brice Turang in the month of August. and the steals are down at 3 stolen bases, which is the whole you gotta you can't steal bases if you're just hitting home
when you're
runs.
trotting around the base path. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, just I mean, this is one I will be questioning live on the show, but a 16% barrel rate since August 1st, you just have to kind of double take and you're like, Brice Turang is doing this. So as I was looking at it, Steve, this one was another one where like his swing speed is up month over month. I think, July it was up a little bit too. But one of the some of the new metrics on like the swing path and everything, his ideal attack angle throughout the whole season was in like the low 40%. And in the past month or two, it's been high 40%. So it seems like he is doing something that's like a different approach. Probably my favorite stat, as I was just kind of scratching and clawing at Turang, was his barrels per batted ball event was 6 or 7% barrel rate on a batted ball event all year, 16% in August. And to me, that means that, when he's making contact, he is crushing it, which kind of syncs up with the swing speed, the better attack angle. So it is a small-ish sample size. I don't think overnight he's going to, suddenly be like a 30, 40% home run hitter. That said, the Brewers are starting to have my trust on some of these like hitters out of nowhere to where, maybe instead of Turang being like a 10-40 guy, if he's like a 15-40 guy, it starts to get really interesting. Now, granted, that's like the ultra upside. Now on the season, he's batting 285, a 775 OPS, 14 homers, 22 steals. But man, this is turning into a heck of a player. And I know at least in my league, like the Turang owner is in the semifinals of the playoffs. So he's
I'm
one of
facing
those
him right
like,
now, and he homered again tonight. So yeah,
did he really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what do we make of Turang? Like this could be
Dude.
a really interesting combo of power speed if we think this is real.
I don't know if I've ever seen a year-over-year hard hit rate increase this much.
And it's
46%
like
from
is it
29.4%.
Oh my god.
Like well below average. Like does not hit the ball hard ever. 2.4% power rate to a 7.7% on the year. Like that is unheard of. And he's still maintaining. He improved his average, right? Like he's still hitting for average. This has just been an insane, and I know a lot of it is this recent stretch here, and there's small sample size and recency bias on it too. But just the overall year, just how he's gone from a person that I would never ever touch, that all this guy could do is steal bases. Like he was supposed to hit for average, but didn't even really last year. A 665 OPS is not even like playable in the MLB, in like real MLB, in my opinion. And despite the 50 stolen bases, when you're 11% worse than league average, I don't see how that's playable. And in my mind, someone that's at a risk of losing playing time to now someone that's has 14 homers. Sure, yeah, the steals are a little bit light if you drafted him to be a steals guy, but he's still got 22 on the year. But man, what an insane turnaround. Like this is just absolutely crazy. I don't know where I heard it, and I wish I remembered it, but like it's one of those Ichiro type of stories, right? Like, oh yeah, Brice Turang in batting practice can get into some, like, watch for him as he, develops, and this year like starts pulling the ball and hitting the ball hard and hitting it with authority and with intention. I think it was one of the Brewers hitting coaches, maybe as an anecdote, and in one of the billion baseball podcasts that I listened to, but it was just an interesting call from that person, right? That this was there all along with Turang, right? I mean, the scouting tools, like, a 45 raw power, is not like 30 power that you would see for some of those guys that are just, like what's Chandler Simpson. I'm sure his raw power is like,
oh my god, yeah,
probably
right.
a
Negative
20, right? Like it may honestly be that it's a 30, yeah, and his game power is 20. So like, there was some like, okay, like this guy could hit 10 to 15 homers. Like it didn't look like was maybe happening after the first 2 years, but man, props to those who saw that increase, right? This is just now close to like a 4.5 category stud when he was seemingly just like a 1 category guy last year.
Mhm.
What an insane turnaround, but man, I think there may be a lot of hype on Turang next year, and rightfully so.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not it wouldn't be the first guy who found pop in the majors, but it is, yeah, like he had 13 homers was the high water mark in the minors across 131 games. And now, he's obviously already eclipsed that. Um, I think just an interesting game log thing for Turang, because you look at this hot August and it's just kind of like, all right, was it a fluke or not? He took Paul Skeens 437 feet straight away for a homer. He hit a homer off Imanaga, who's been pitching well, Cade Horton, who's been pitching well. He had one off Kodai Senga. Like when you look at his spray charts, he's got probably 5 or 6 like absolute no doubters. Like it's not like they're all dead pole wall scrapers or anything. Like a lot of these are 400 plus feet. I'm interested and just at age 25, uh, it'll be if I guess I will fall victim to any offseason reports about him putting on more muscle or going to driveline or, he's looking to elevate and pull the ball, do more pull airs. Like that's might be enough for me, but he's probably going to be, beyond that kind of Nico Horner
Yeah, he's
range,
a
right?
top
Like,
100 player, right?
yeah, for sure. I mean, I think at Horner's peak, he was like going pick 55,
Yeah,
60, and I feel like that's probably where Turang. So you're probably gonna have to pay up.
especially if he like has like a month where he steals another 10 bases and goes 18-30, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, with the
with the way
bat
he's going, he can come close to 20 homers
for real,
potentially.
and with the bat speed and the attack angle being something to point at, like, if he continues, even half of this power bench, yeah, like you said, and it's like 18, ends up with well, I guess he hit his 15th tonight. If he
Yeah,
ends up with 20 homers and 30 steals, like,
yeah.
yeah, he could be creeping up into, like, the 3rd or 4th round, which
He
is
went from
great.
3rd barrel rate and 9% hard hit rate to 37% percentile barrel rate and 67th percentile hard hit rate.
I mean,
Absolutely insane.
that's serviceable, very serviceable for a guy who's like 90th percentile speed. So yeah, that's Brice Turang. Super exciting for a 25-year-old. Moving over to another one that it was not on my draft sheet, another 25-year-old Steve, is Geraldo Perdomo. Um, yeah, I mean, I was just kind of reading up on him because he's been like almost the joke in our home league all year because, well, one of the managers who just kind of constantly finds
Mhm.
gold on accident had this guy, and we were like, oh yeah, Perdomo's destroying my team this week. But there is a good player here, and as I was looking
Mhm.
into this, um, I think I've kind of become a fan. Like there's some really cool articles about how he is just like, the captain of that team. He like is always
Stuck
like
up for Marte during that situation that came up in the
exactly, yeah.
clubhouse. Yeah, yeah,
And then I found out he's been playing through a deep bone bruise in his
yeah.
left hand like all season, and he's still putting up an absolute career year. It's a short career, but the 290 average, 839 OPS on the season, 14 homers, 23 steals. I think everybody, playing fantasy baseball this year knew Perdomo was kind of this out of nowhere contributor, but in August, it's been a 357 average, 1040 OPS, 3 homers, but 8 steals. Um, and this, when you consider the injury, when you consider he's just 25, like again, it's kind of in that that the underlying stuff doesn't support like 14 homers necessarily, but what do we make of this? Like, is he are we chalking it up as it's a fluke? because he's a switch hitter as well. Like there's just enough of this kind of gamer aspect to Perdomo where I'm interested. I just don't necessarily know like what profile I'm investing in. But I do think he's obviously a hell of a ball player and he's having a great season. What do you think on Perdomo? It's tough to kind of expect where he'll go in the drafts or if I'm going to be in on it.
Super underrated, I think. Especially because he's like this utility guy, maybe thought of as like a glove first guy. Some light speed that kind of like was like waiver wire fodder for the first few years of his career. And I'm glad you brought that up with the bone bruise because there was a lot of hype around Perdomo in the start of the season, right? He had 4 home runs in April, another 2 in May, and was hitting 309 in May, and then kind of slowed off in June. I think hit 214. It looked like all right, yeah, that was just a flash in the pan, and then has been pretty steady since then. And it's like kind of like a quiet little breakout here for him. Another guy that's like, eerily similar um, to Turang
Turang.
that we just talked
Yep.
about.
Yeah.
But like maybe just more of a complete player. He walks a ton, right? So the OBP is always going to be there. Like he's always been an interesting play, at least the last few years in OBP leagues, right? Like he's had a 12% walk rate, a 9%, a 13% walk rate, 12% walk rate, and then a 14% walk rate this year, striking out only 10% of the time. Striking out well less than he's walked, right? Now pair that with a 159 ISO, and there you go. You have a fantasy player, right? Chip in the 25 steals, only caught 5 times. You're cooking with gas, right? Another guy that like when you look at like player raters, like you're gonna be shocked at how high Perdomo is. Where do you think Geraldo Perdomo is just on the 5x5 Fangraphs player rater?
Well, I think you wouldn't ask if it wasn't impressive, but I think that the part of that on the 5x5 is that he's also at like 82 runs, 82
Yeah.
RBI. So he's
Yes.
been like
So
right at the heart of all that production. Like,
84 RBIs, 81 runs, 23 steals, 14 homers, hitting 290.
man, is he I'm just gonna say he's 39th overall.
14th.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you compare him to Turang, he has the wall scraper homers for the most part. I mean, not all of them, but Turang had some of those that are just like, flirting with
Yeah, I don't know if he's
440.
taking Paul Skeens to like the upper deck,
Yeah, and his, you were just talking about how the barrel rate and hard hit rate for Turang was like somewhere in the ballpark of like
Yeah,
30-65 or something.
yeah.
Perdomo is a 23rd percentile barrel rate, 12th percentile hard hit rate.
Mhm.
So I think because of these reasons, he's going to be a super popular fade. But if the draft price gets deflated to a point where people are just kind of writing off that it was a complete fluke, I'm with you that I mean I think the average is fully legit. I think you have to give him a little bit of a boost that he has been like playing through injury.
Yeah,
I think age is on his side. I think it's kind of this is going to be a high comp. So this is the diluted version of how I felt early on about Francisco Lindor, that like if you believe in the
yeah,
player and the well-rounded nature of the player, it's like they take steps like Perdomo is taking a step to where I don't know, like if he gets pushed down the way Profar did last year, where it's like, ADP is somewhere in the 115 to 135 territory. I think he's a great little utility player for your fantasy lineup, right? Just kind of he'll help you in 3.5, 4.5 categories. Definitely average runs, RBIs, and steals. And then, yeah, homers, maybe it is more like a 10 to 15 range versus if he gets up in the high teens this year. But yeah, I'm interested in like I feel like he's long overdue to be brought up on WAF, which is kind of the spirit of the
yeah,
show. Yeah.
yeah. It's kind of like a Stephen Quanish profile, like with the squared up percentage, doesn't swing and miss, walks a bunch, maybe a little bit more power, little less batting average. There, I mean, switch hitter too. This is This is a super interesting profile and looks like a pretty legit breakout in his age 25 season.
It does, yeah. And I think the RBIs are interesting. I just went to my
This
home
is
list.
another good lineup, man. Like Arizona has a good lineup.
Yeah, because he hits lead off it. They're turning it over, and he's like just eating up RBIs even on days when he's not hitting home runs. Guess what his overall rank is in my home league settings? We won't spend too much time on this, but where we value plate discipline and like different types of hits.
2.
He's ranked 4th in my home league, which is nuts. All right, so that's Brice Turang and Geraldo Perdomo. You're definitely thinking. So say Turang is an ADP 60 and Perdomo is ADP 105. Which one do you like more at their
at that cost? I might like Perdomo straight up.
Okay. Oh wow. Oh, between the two of them. Okay.
Yeah.
So you would if there is
I don't
the
know.
discount.
Maybe that's playing too much into just how it's sort of been, with runs and RBIs, but
Yeah, the back of the baseball card versus like people looking at Turang's like raw speed and the power gains. I think that's going to give them some separation, but yeah, I think I would definitely like Perdomo at that cost. But
yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's a blind spot in my game though that I should probably like.
Yeah, you're
more.
usually
But I mean,
aiming at the upside.
based on how guys are finishing this year, like right, it's how are you going to pass on the 14th ranked player?
I know. Yeah, you're right. And maybe it will be nowhere close to 105. Maybe he'll be in the 60s or something just because of the high average and everything.
Yeah.
All right. So that's Turang and Perdomo. We're going to leave that little 2-pack there and get the 3 more guys, but we're going to take our second ad break and we'll be right back after this. All right, Steve, this one's going to sting a little bit. The Bailey Ober for me 2 years ago that ended my fantasy baseball season. In my mind, whether it's right or wrong, that choice is me passing on adding Jakob Marsee about a week and a half before my season ended, where I tried to grab singles with Nick Gonzalez. And after that, Marsee ended up looking like pretty much the best hitter in the bigs. So I know the power slowed down, but the speed ticked up. And probably most impressive and unexpected has been the hit tool for Jakob Marsee, who was a guy that was on our radar. I think we had him in, didn't we draft him, Steve? In our
yeah, we did, and I think he was in a trade this year.
He was dealt.
For a prospect, yeah.
But Marsee's average in August has been 345, and that is kind of the most impressive thing. The 4 homers and 7 steals is still excellent. He's been caught stealing a couple times, so dude is definitely real speed on the base paths. But he was brought up with the expectations of probably being like a 230 to 240 hitter, and he's been 100 points above that. Now his BABIP is also super inflated. So I think, again, you look at kind of overall sample sizes. We're trying to evaluate this guy, but looks, regardless of that, to be really solid with a 13% barrel rate, hitting the ball super hard. Not as much swing and miss as you might think for somebody who gets called up, who's like a 235 type of hitter. So 24-year-old, I know the team context isn't that exciting, but I think a lot of reason to be excited about the player himself. What do you think about Jakob Marsee?
They're starting to get some pieces there, especially on the Hink side. Stowers, Augustine Ramirez looks pretty good.
That's true.
Otto Lopez looks like a decent player, and now Marsee. He had 47 steals this year, 51 in the minors last year. 14 homers in the minors this year, 18 total for the year. Yeah, he's running insanely hot, right? It's a 52% hard hit rate. He had 30% hard hit rate in the minors this year, 12.9% power, 13% power rate is just, crazy high. But I mean, hey, it's been like that for 100 plate appearances, right? So, you're getting close on at least not regressing it as hard as you should have. It's 62 batted balls for him this year. So definitely probably, better skills than what his minor numbers have indicated for whatever reason, right? The max EV is still in line, but there may be more than just a a 10 homer ceiling type of thing for Marsee here. So I've been following him closely. I've added him a few times in my league. It's been fun to watch. He's had some insane games. Um, that said, I want to see what the adjustment is and when he cools off and what that's like, right? Like it comes for everyone. It comes for Pico Armstrong. It came for Cal Raleigh for a bit, right? When it just seems like guys are just going to hit all year long. It never happens, right? So it'll be interesting to see. Definitely a lot of tools, like a guy that is going to be like on every single sleeper list next year, like a guy that you want to throw darts on and have shares of, but I could see it going one way or the other. Right now, all the Savant sliders, even though they're grayed out, are all bright red and look really good. That said, I don't know how much stock you can put into it until you see him struggle a bit and have to make that adjustment back. But that said, super tooled up, very, very interesting power speed guy, at least, right?
Yeah, and I was just popping over to the prospect grades. So 40 raw power, 30-40 game power, 45-50 hit tool. So that's actually, I think
Yeah.
that's where, his 318 XBA is not real, but projections range for him being like a 220 to 235 hitter the rest of the way. And it's like, I don't know. I mean, for what he's shown so far and with a 45-50 hit tool, like, I don't think it's out of the question to say he's a 250 guy with some upside on top of that. And then obviously the speed is a huge plus, the 60 grade speed, and he's definitely not hesitant on the base paths. It seems like he has the ultra green light with Miami. So yeah, I mean, I think this will be,
What's your
yeah,
back of the napkin projection for him next year, assuming he gets like a full run of playing time?
yeah, I think like a 252 average, 10 homers, 25 to 30
Yeah,
steals.
that's fair. Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what I would guess too.
Yeah, and that's not bad. I mean, the power, it looks like, yeah, I mean, unlike Turang, there's no one really of note that he hit these homers off of. It's just interesting to me that he's like 6 foot 180. Like he's not like a big guy. So what were his power numbers? You said in the minors
I
he's
mean, he had a
actually had
16
some.
homer season in 2023 with the Padres and 46 steals in across high A and double A.
Okay. So it's
Had
he's
10
not like a
homers in it
complete
last year,
string. Hmm.
between high A, between double A and triple A. Got promoted pretty soon after he was traded from the Padres. Was he the Luis Arias trade? I think so, right?
Good question. I do not know.
From the
I was
Padres
chasing down another thing over here.
to the Marlins. I feel like they've made many trades. So
What do you think? I mean, this isn't like for like on position, but what do you think about a Luke Keyshaw versus Jakob Marsee?
man, I mean,
Because they're kind of
Keishel
similar.
could be. It
Keyshaw's a better
should have
bat.
been on this show. Um, yeah, it was the Luis Arias trade. So like Keishel could be on the show. I think Keishel like has more like real life value, if that makes sense. Like he look, he
They're an
walks
interesting
as much as
comp.
he strikes out.
I just pulled up the
You know,
prospect reports.
yeah,
They're pretty similar on like hit
yeah,
versus power versus
yeah.
speed. Um,
I think Keishel looks a bit more polished, and I think would have a higher floor.
okay, yeah, because of
That
the batting
said,
average
like
and
I
everything.
think that if everything goes right for Marsee next year and he's running like he is now, like all year essentially, then it's like okay, maybe this is like a Nolan Jones type 30-30 season, 30-20 season, something like that,
Yeah,
although he maybe has more speed, so maybe there could be more steals there, right?
yeah. Okay. Well, that's Marsee. Yeah, that's a good one there. Moving over to a couple of Braves here, but we'll go pitcher first. Hurston Waldrep, a name that has been on fantasy radars for a while, but kind of a long awaited for him to come up, and he has not been disappointing in the month of August. 27% strikeout rate, 6.7% walk rate, a 0.73 ERA, and a 0.77 WHIP. Steve, he got scooped up in my league, so I had not done like the deep dive yet, and I like what I'm seeing, man. Like 4 whiff pitches, a high ground ball rate, around 96 on the velocity. Not like insane extension or anything, but he's got at least one insane pitch and some other offerings to kind of keep hitters off balance. So, man, it seems like if everything clicks right, the Braves have reason to be really excited about the rotation. But Waldrep has just been awesome. You can't really say out of nowhere because he's a name that
he's a big prospect.
Yeah, we've been talking about for a while, but so far so good. What do you make of Waldrep?
Yeah, super interesting. I mean, that splitter is like one of the wackiest and best pitchers like around. That's what's made him so interesting as a prospect. When he was drafted out of Florida in 2023, his first round pick, and it moved quickly, right? It's easy to forget he's only been a pro for 3 years now, for 3 seasons. So, had those insane strikeout rates that made him super interesting as like a sleeper last year, right? And it was basically a disaster in his 7 innings last year. He had an 8% strikeout rate and a 22% walk rate. Crazy bad. As bad as basically your first 7 major league innings can go. That said, it looks like he figured something out with the cutter here. The 4-seam got absolutely obliterated last year around the 506 WOBA, or 507 WOBA last year. That's so bad.
Wow.
And he essentially ditched it. He is not throwing it at all this year. 1.6% of the time he's thrown 5 to lefties, and added this cutter that he did not have last year. He throws it to both righties and lefties, and it's performing well. It's allowed a 227 batting average. It doesn't get whiffs. It has a 0% put away percentage, but hey, it's something that the splitter can play off of, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly sort of what he needs, right? You can't just go get by with just the splitter, right? Especially one that's going to have a lot of whiff and live outside the zone a bunch. But when you have that cutter, and looks like he's kind of just throwing it down the middle of the plate when you look at the heat maps, but that's enough to keep hitters off balance and allow him to sort of unlock his repertoire. So that may be exactly what he needed. He needed to figure out something hard. He does have the velocity, right? He throws the cutter 94 miles an hour. It's not the 4-seam that's 96, but hey, it doesn't matter when you throw 96, 97 with the 4-seam, when it gives up a 769 slug last year. It's absolutely insane.
As a primary pitch.
Yeah.
I guess
a primary pitch too. Yeah.
No, you're right. I mean,
it looks like he's unlocked something,
Yeah, and I like that he still throws the sinker 14% of the time, and that has a 96 miles per hour, 27% whiff rate is great for a sinker. 33% whiff rate on the curveball is, that it should be a swing and miss pitch, but he goes to that 16% of the time. So it's a guy who uses 5 pitches 10% of the time or more. So that's encouraging. And again, 4 of them get whiffs, and the cutter is just kind of like you said, it's a little bit of a glue pitch to just, rely on for lefties and righties, despite it not having any whiffs at all, really. It's still
0% put away percentage and I got the whiff percentage here, 7.5% whiff percentage. So what is that? He's thrown 78, right? Let me do the back of the napkin math here.
Like 2 whiffs, something like that.
Yeah.
For 5 whiffs on 78 pitches or something. But yeah, just a 227.
6 whiffs on 78 pitches. Yeah.
6 whiffs. Yeah. But just a 227 batting average against. So Yeah, he's not going to be a sub-1 ERA and WHIP guy, but how many innings have we seen of him? 30 innings. So yeah, I guess, we talked earlier about Trevor Rogers. If Rogers is in that SP3, 4 territory, I guess, is it going to be like a big volume concern for Waldrep? I guess, what did he do? He did 91 innings, so he's up to like 125 on the season. I guess talk to me about Waldrep and Trevor Rogers, kind of crystal ball into draft season next year. What do you think about those two names?
I would take Rogers pretty easily based on the track record, right? Like he's had a close to a full season of doing what he's doing already. Waldrep, it's been a few innings that, 24 innings of, hey, this is my new approach and it's working. You know, again, it's sort of like the opposite of the it's sort of like the opposite of when a hitter has to make a change. I forget who we were talking about earlier with that approach, right? Like when the league gets a book on you, what are you going to do when you adjust? Marsee maybe.
Yeah.
So I would go Rogers pretty easily there, but I guess based on prospect pedigree on this track, on this short little stint here of success, I could see how you may want to go there. But for me, it's pretty easily Trevor Rogers.
Yeah. I think that the reverse of that argument would be there's the best overall pitch between the two of them belongs to Waldrep,
Yeah,
right?
prospect grades definitely lean Waldrep for sure. Yeah,
Better swing and miss stuff, better velocity in a vacuum. And Waldrep, we're now up to 30 innings because he threw tonight, and
no Ks, but was fine.
Yeah, you're right. No cases does kind of hurt the overall picture, but yeah, good point. And not to say that they're going to get drafted right next to each other. I'm just kind of curious, Waldrep, if he continues looking productive and he ends up getting to like 130 innings by the end of September, there won't be an innings limitation necessarily, or that won't be like a huge deficit. So then if you're looking at volume for both of them, I guess Waldrep
12.3% walk rate in AAA this year is a bit concerning, though. That is automated balls and strikes. So,
that's a good point.
Coming to MLB next year, right? We'll see. Although I think they use it more extensively in AAA. I could be wrong though.
Yeah, the walk rate is concerning. That's fair. Okay, no, that's good. Just curious because we talked about those. All right,
and it's been pretty bad at every single stop in the minors. It's been an issue. There's 15%, 20%, and 14%. It's concerning.
Yep, that's fair. But for what it's worth, after tonight, he'll be not quite half of the MLB innings that Rogers has. So like the sample size isn't like night and day, but I hear you.
Sure. Yeah. It's easy to forget. Yeah, it's a good point that we didn't bring up with Rogers. This is now the Trevor Rogers episode. The sample is basically been since like the All-Star break with him this year.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's round out with a guy who's probably the poster child for second half discussions for hitters. It's Michael Harris, second. His August has been a 330 average, a 954 OPS, 7 homers, 3 steals. Steve, my spidey sensors were going off that he does this every year. So I went back and looked, and every single one of the 4 seasons, Michael Harris has had a better second half than the first half. Other than his first year, did he win Rookie of the Year? No, he was like right up there. That's trivia.
He might have, yeah.
But that one was kind of a narrow gap. Otherwise, every single season has been a notable better performance in the second half. It's like I don't know, like a Brian Dozier thing, or the Luis Castillo effect of hitters, where it's like you bank on Harris slumping for you, I think, favor him in roto leagues. He will be a headache in head-to-head leagues. But now his season line is a 249 average, 16 homers, 15 steals. The OPS doesn't look great, but overall, that's not that brutal for, kind of average power speed. It's not what you were hoping for, but he might end up having another 2020 season. Curious your thoughts. When I was looking around, one of the biggest things I wanted to call it is his bat speed is up 2 miles per hour from the start of the year till now, which again is like adding 2 or 3 ticks of fastball velocity. Like it's a huge jump. And the only other thing, you kind of are squinting and looking for anything to change, but on some of those swing path metrics, his Y intercept angle, which basically means that the ball is getting deeper in the zone, has spiked up for him as he's added this bat speed. He's kind of letting the ball get deeper in the plate as he's hitting it. And it's obviously working out with a 7 home run month. So Michael Harris, kind of a frustrating guy. It's been frustrating for the Braves all year, but this is one of those really quiet, like you think you know the player, but if you switched off around fantasy football time, you might miss that Harris is kind of doing the thing again. So what do you make of it? And do we think we're ready to kind of jump in again on MH2 next season?
Yeah, what a streaky player. He did win Rookie of the Year that year, and it's interesting. His counterpart in the AL that won Rookie of the Year that year was Julio Rodriguez, another guy that has scorching hot second halves that like salvage seasons.
Right.
I think he's kind of like a poor man's Julio Rodriguez. A lot of similarities.
Yeah.
The guys that swing this much, I think they're just going to be like when they're not making contact and the timing's off, like they're not going to walk. That so he's not going to get on base to steal and salvage. A category there. Like until like that changes, and maybe it never will. Like I think it's going to be a very very volatile profile, right? Like the strikeout rates is pretty good and palatable at 19.7%, but it's the worst walk rate of his career at 2.5%, right? Which is why like his overall line is like similar, like 16 homers, 15 steals. That's 5 more steals than he had last year, same amount of homers so far. It's just been 30 less points of OBP, and that's why his OPS starts with the 6 this season. But I don't know, like part of what makes Michael Harris successful is probably the fact that he's this aggressive, but there's been diminishing returns essentially every year in the league that he's been there, right? He's went from a 137 WRC plus when he won Rookie of the Year to 116 to 99 to 86. Like that is not a good trend. Like, I don't know. I'm not interested in like taking Michael Harris and then hoping for a super hot August or something to save me when, who knows, I may already be buried by then, right?
Yeah.
He's there's been an inflated cost on him pretty much every year. I think he was even like a second rounder after that first season, when he went 19-20 in 114 games and was like, okay, he was pretty good the next year too, but it's steadily gotten worse. And I don't know, maybe unless he changes that plate approach and is able to, improve too. And like the hard hit metrics, like that's gone down every year too. His barrel rate, hard hit has been on a steady decline. So I don't know. This is probably the coldest player that I feel towards on the rundown here.
Yeah, and this year, I mean, what a long season! His ADP was at 40.
He was not rosterable for a good amount of the year,
right? And he was a third rounder, end of the third round, beginning of the fourth round. Still 24 years old. I think we talked about Perdomo with being in the 80s on runs and RBIs. Michael Harris has 130 games, 45 runs, 68 RBIs isn't bad. He's been hitting cleanup recently, but yeah, it would have to be pretty deep for me as well, Steve, just because you brought up really good points about kind of how aggressive he is and what that means for his profile, and just the inconsistency and the valleys are really low. does not walk at all, so he's not really getting on base, which is probably hurting the whole 45 runs thing. He's kind of a hacker in terms of strikeout rate, and there's not a ton. Like I'm kind of curious what his, even in this great month. Let me pull up. I'm curious because the barrel rate's not impressive either. So it's kind of like, what are you holding on to? It looks like in the month of August, so his barrel per plate appearance has been like north of 10. Yeah. So, and in July it was around 12 and a half. So like the barrel rate has gotten better. At
Yeah,
the
he's
end of the
running hot.
year.
That's for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So July was pretty good too. Max EV is okay, but yeah, I mean, I think by now the way, the industry will push Harris down pretty substantially. And
You'd
I
think
think
so, but he's been super hyped. Basically, like he went 40 last year. Why? You
I
know?
know that's crazy. I wonder, did any of us have him on the chalkboard fade?
Yeah,
I
I
know
don't
I
think
was
so.
not really
No,
interested
no.
in grabbing
Yeah.
him. But yeah, I think even compared to some of the names we talked about earlier, like definitely not interested in him over Turang or Perdomo. Like I just don't think that the kind of the foundation of him as like an MLB hitter is close to either one of those guys. Would you agree with that? Even like Turang or Perdomo, you're taking over
Yeah,
Harris?
I'd
No,
rather
no
have
brainer.
him pretty
Yeah.
easily. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think it would take a bigger fall than it probably will for me. I mean, we'll see. He will be an interesting one to just see what happens in September. Like, can he really salvage and make it look respectable? But my gut says he'd have to be after like pick 130 for me to be interested, and I don't think he will fall that far just because of the offense, the power speed, and the fact that he's still like 24 years old. But yeah, it's eventually these guys do slip and fade that are like the high prospect ones in terms of ADP. So hopefully the discount is there. But yeah, I'm with you. Probably the frostiest one on the list. But yeah, great rundown, great list of names. I think that Turang Perdomo section is like most exciting for me, but Rogers is an interesting one
All
as
right.
well. This will be a good one too. I know we've said that on a few shows. Maybe one of our final shows here, Steve, once we're getting into kind of the sleepy September episodes when a lot of like home leagues have wrapped. We got to do a show dedicated to any of the kind of like
Yeah,
mid-season and on where we're like, let's come back to this at the end of the year.
yeah.
So we'll do a little rear view mirror.
Year-end audit. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
year-end
We've
audit.
done that. We've done that a few times. Yeah.
I like it. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. As always, we will be weekly through the rest of August and September. I guess tonight's our last August
Yeah.
show. But yeah, good luck to everybody who's kind of scratching and clawing. And Steve, good luck to you in the home league. Keep me posted. But yeah, for episode 191, thanks for talking baseball with us.
Thanks, guys. Later.